Megan, welcome to Empower Network TV.
Thank you, Amos.
Very excited you're here. I was admiring the horse pictures behind you because your body work stuff you do, you said started with animals. So let's really curious to find out how that transition worked, working from hands-on animals to hands-on people, and then switching over to nutrition for people. So that's a
Yeah.
migration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, with hindsight, I can see like, okay, first I got just really fascinated. Well, first I was completely into horses. So I got into body work through the horse world. And I got into body work just being so fascinated by the sort of the musculoskeletal body. And that was wonderful. And I've done that now for over 20 years. And then starting more with the last, say, 5 years, maybe, as I moved into middle age. I still feel very young, but I'm in that, broad category of middle age and perimenopause. And so I started, for my own health needs, getting more into nutrition and also like the brain and habit change and things like that. So it's still very much just fascinated by the body, but just more at a kind of a cellular and level and an organ level and metabolism. So metabolic health is my focus, which includes a lot of things we can talk about. But yeah, so it's all been just love of learning about the body kind of on different levels and then sharing it with people, because it's stuff we should we should really all be learning as a owner's manual to our body.
And I got to ask Megan, horses to humans. Okay, because you went horses to humans. How similar are our bodies and organs to horses?
Yeah, so body work wise and musculoskeletal wise, we're very similar, much more similar than we are different. And really, even cellular organ, we're more similar than different. But when it gets into nutrition, I'd say humans we're pretty similar with the dogs and cats, not so much with the horses. Like, for example, one tool that is, not required, but is a great thing to have in your back pocket if you're working on your metabolic health is some version of fasting. And there's a lot of versions of fasting. They can be short, they can be longer, and they can be done in different ways. But that is one example of where that horses are not designed for that. They are truly designed, evolved for grazing. Their stomach and digestive system is fairly different. I mean, they're not as different as ruminants, but like they only have one stomach like we do, unlike cows and other ruminants. But yeah, so with the nutrition world, less similarity.
When we talk about ruminants, so animals that have multiple stomachs, is that where we get our word to ruminate? Because it's to go over and okay, so how many stomachs do ruminants have? And it's because they chew their cud, or is that just cows?
Cows, goats, deer, sheep, bison.
They all chew their cud.
They all chew their cud. They have 4 stomachs. It goes down. Like as a kid, I was in 4-H with goats. I love goats. If I remember right, and somebody can
Do
correct
you
me if I'm
realize you
wrong, but
just said when I was a kid, I love goats?
yes, that's
Nice one.
true. Pun intended, I guess, after the fact. Yes, true. So that goes, they swallow, tear off the roughage, swallow it, goes to the first stomach, comes back up, and they chew it more as cud. And then it goes back down and it goes through the next 3 stomachs. So that's why they really are evolved to be herbivores, unlike humans, and unlike dogs and cats. They have the digestive system that's perfectly designed to take the energy from the sun that goes into growing grass and then turn it into themselves and their bodies.
Okay, so we are not designed to just turn the grass plants for nutrition. You're saying into, okay, so what are we designed for then?
We are designed to be omnivores. That's how we evolved.
Okay.
So I do, I do very much respect people when their reasons for wanting, to support animal welfare. My belief is that it's more important to focus on the quality of the animal proteins that you eat in your diet and how they were raised. And yes, I would love our food system to be changed. It needs to be changed. But as far as human health, avoiding all animal protein, I believe, is not healthy. It's doable with supplementation and with great care and attention if you're avoiding all animal foods. And animal foods, can include seafood and eggs and dairy and meat. But we are nutritionally, we have evolved to rely on animal sourced foods as part of our diet.
What is that? So I've always been curious about that. So you're saying physiologically our bodies are wired to be omnivores, aside from politically how you lean, should we eat, should we not eat, just scientifically our bodies are actually wired for it.
Yes.
That's fascinating to me. So and also, are we wired to fast? Are our bodies meant to?
Yes. And I'm so glad. I can't even remember if did we talk about this before we started? I'm doing a online workshop on fasting on Saturday. And I don't think we even talked about
No,
that.
we didn't talk about that. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so fasting is basically looking at timing. Like a quick analogy, I guess, I think if you think of the food that you eat, as well as the times that you don't eat strategically, as one analogy I like is like music. You've got the notes and you've got the space between the notes. And you need both to make music. And really, when the food that we put in is so much more than just fuel. It's programming. It's giving your body signals, and your hormones respond in different ways to different foods. And your hormones and other cellular functions respond to periods of not eating. So there's all kinds of healing responses that you can purposely and strategically trigger by not only looking at the both the quantity, yes, but especially the quality of the foods you're eating, but also the timing. So yes, we are evolved to not be eating constantly. And there are tremendous health benefits to incorporating some version of fasting into your lifestyle. And what that version is can be fairly individual, both with gender, time of life, what's going on in your life, how much stress are you under. There's different reasons why you might choose different types of fast, but a good basic fundamental for virtually everybody, I can't really think of an exception to this, is to go at least 12 hours overnight on a regular basis. Give your body that chance, because your body just doesn't have the same opportunity to do a lot of cleanup and healing functions if it's constantly having to work to process what you're putting in.
Now, are you saying any calories? So alcohol, morning coffee with milk or sugar. So 12 hours absolute minimum. What is optimal? If 12 hours is minimum, what is optimal?
What is optimal is going to, like I said, depend on the person. I think as a routine for most people, pretty optimal on a regular basis is going to be somewhere between, say, 13 and 16 hours. And also optimal to occasionally have that longer. And occasionally could mean once a week, could mean once a month, could mean a few times a year. And longer could mean 20 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours, could mean a few days. So, and that gets into more of the individual differences. And there's ways also to prepare your body and work into that. Like, for instance, some people do have, they do have some issues with maybe blood sugar and needing to eat frequently. And I would say for people in that category, almost guaranteed, it's not that that's really what you need for the rest of your life. It's that you are insulin resistant to some degree. So your body's having trouble accessing the fat on your body for fuel. And even if you're not overweight, we all have fat to get us through the day. But if you're insulin resistant, you're not going to access that very well, not fast enough to sort of supply your needs. And so then you need to snack. But snacking is just a short-term solution, because what you really want to do is become more metabolically flexible and improve your insulin sensitivity, because that's something that develops over years. And we get progressively sicker and sicker the more insulin resistant we are. And then eventually we start developing something like diabetes or heart health issues or brain function issues. But that's, that's years down the road. You've been developing insulin resistance before that. And so not being able to fast really is a kind of a red flag, like, hey, your body is not able to access fat the way it's supposed to be. We didn't evolve to be eating constantly and have a refrigerator, in the back of our cave. We did evolve having stretches of time when we didn't eat and could function just fine to go out and get ourselves some food.
Yeah, like what brought you here, Megan? Then so let's get into more of your story. Like,
oh yeah,
from horses to humans, but what growing up, were you an animal lover at 5 and 10 years old? Yeah. Did you
yes,
have animals? Did your
yeah.
parents let you? Okay.
Yeah, I had a very animal loving mother and grandfather, and my dad was liked animals a lot and was very tolerant. We had lots of dogs and always usually one cat at a time. I had goats, rabbits. My mom raised pigeons. We had chickens. We had pigs once, 2 pigs for just 1 year that my sister raised. Nice menagerie. I was very fortunate to grow up with that.
Menagerie, fun
And
word.
horses. Did I mention horses? We had.
Yeah. I don't remember if we did. Well,
I don't know if
humans.
we did.
Okay, so you grew up an animal lover, and then you got into body work on animals. So what was the impetus for this? What's the catalyst?
Yeah, working with horses. After college, I went straight into, cleaning stalls and doing other horse work, but then got into, I had in high school started as a volunteer with a therapeutic horseback riding program. And after college, that's what I wanted to do. So I got work in various barns and then eventually did become a therapeutic horseback riding instructor. And I was working as that, and a colleague, a fellow therapeutic horseback riding instructor, she took a class on horse massage, and I, heard about and saw what she was doing, and I just wanted to learn that. So, and then within a fairly short time, I kind of gradually went to part-time body work and started my massage business. And I was also a school teacher in there for a little bit. But after a while, I just wanted to do body work on them. And so it started with those therapy horses. And then also my mom's horse at that time was one of the first ones that I hired my friend who had just learned this to come and do my mom's horse. And then I went and took a class. And then within about 6 months after that, I was in massage school for humans. It was.
So you downgraded from size, you came down. Do the horses like it? Like, when you're petting your dog, your cat, and then they're purring, or the dog's like, in heaven. Do the horses actually really enjoy it too?
Yes, mostly. And sometimes they don't. And that's pretty good sign that they've got some distress going on in their body if they're not able to, body and or mind, if they're not receiving touch well. But usually, even if they don't like it right at first, usually within the first session, they'll figure out that this is different and they'll start to like it. And the majority just like it right away. Like horses love touch, and they touch each other too with their noses mainly. And they'll do mutual massage on each other's.
You said with their noses mainly. You did
Oh,
it again.
I keep doing the puns.
Oh, that's funny.
Good job catching them. I like it.
Okay, so and then you get into humans, and then you get certified massage therapist, and now you've been doing that. But then that takes you into the nutrition. So
Yeah.
what's the
So
catalyst?
again, that was basically probably, well, okay, at first I recognized it was perimenopause. What I didn't recognize until more recently, the last few years, is that so much of what we experience as trouble for women with perimenopause and menopause, like many other health symptoms, has metabolic health at the root of it. So it's really, with hindsight, my health issue was more about, again, that insulin resistance developing for years. And that can come from a combination of what you eat, how frequently you eat. Also, stress plays a big role, can play a big role. So all of these things can impact our metabolic health, which includes so many things: how our mitochondria and our cells are functioning to produce energy, how our thyroid's functioning to regulate our metabolism, how our gut microbiome is, the variety of species, and because they produce all kinds of stuff, including neurotransmitters, and I mean, gut microbiome health is a big part. So it all kind of plays together to create sort of metabolic health or lack of metabolic health, which is all basically about, as in a broad sense, how you take in energy, process energy, produce energy. It's all metabolic health.
It's this massive ecosystem. It's like humans. It's like you can try to go through life alone and just focus on, one thing, get good, whatever source of riboflavin or dietary this or, but your whole body needs to be, and it's the same with us humans. We got to be in a tribe. We got to be leaning on others. You can't just have hunters. You can't just have
Yes.
sowers.
Yes, exactly. And that triggers my thought too. I mean, it's about the health of the planet too. And there's so much media out there suggesting that if you're a meat eater, you're hurting the planet. Personally, I don't believe that. Frankly, we need a lot of ruminants eating grass and pooping to create the soil that makes a healthy planet. That's how the healthy soil of the United States was formed, with all the bison and deer and antelope and whatever roaming around for who knows, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years or more. And that's why that Midwest was so rich in soil when the, white settlers came and started farming. And we've just been systematically destroying that soil. And we need the animals integrated in a humane agricultural system to both restore human health, because we have an epidemic worldwide, especially in the United States, but it's really worldwide, of preventable chronic disease that is stemming, again, stress plays a role, environmental toxins plays a role, they're very important roles, but a lot of it's coming from our food system. We're just not eating real foods. We're eating processed foods, don't give us our bodies what we need. And we need we need our eating habits to change, but we need our food system to change back to more, what it used to be, before all the mechanization and the, big monocrop, agriculture that, again, is just destroying the soil. We need all of it working together, just like we need humans working together as a human community to make things work. We need different aspects of the natural world and humans working together to help the planet be healthier. So,
Don't you find it's hard to differentiate between all the noise? Because you get, they're saying, oh, stop eating animals, it's ruining the planet. And then someone like you comes on and goes, well, we don't actually restore the soil without the ruminants chewing grass, pooping it to restore the soil. And then they say, don't worry, we're going to just make you all plant products and we're going to feed you all soybean oil and canola oil, which are absolutely highly
terrible,
inflammatory. And
very inflammatory.
they put it in all the oat milk, the nut milks. They're loading it with this garbage. And so people think they're eating, oh no, I'm doing a good thing by having oat milk and almond milk, and it's loaded with chemicals.
Yeah. There's a phrase I've heard a lot over the last few years studying this. I'm not sure where it comes from, but just this phrase, if you remember it, the profit is in the processing. So the big food manufacturers, that's how they make money, is processing cheap ingredients like those oils you mentioned, like flour, like sugar, lots of cheap ingredients, And then they, package it up and sell it to us, and maybe throw in some, artificial vitamins and stuff to make it healthy. And, raising vegetables, raising animals well, the real foods we should be eating, there's not a lot of profit in that. And so
Because there's
that's
only
not,
one step. There's only one step.
yeah. So the food manufacturers aren't going to go there, because that's not going to get their stockholders, a nice return. So yeah, we're that's just how our system has shifted.
A lot of people, I want to come back to the land, growing their own gardens, raising their own animals.
Or at least local, go to farmers markets, local farms. Yeah, anything in your backyard is awesome, but just the smaller farms practicing regenerative or at least more regenerative practices that's actually improving the soil over time. Yeah, that's what we need. But I'm part of what is going to drive that, I believe. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, is we need to be demanding those foods and buying those foods. And if we're able, willing to pay a little extra for those foods, so we can support those farmers.
Okay, so let's brings us to your thing on Saturday. So
Yes,
you are
thank you.
doing can you just go into that again?
Yeah, I'm doing a workshop online, fasting for metabolic health. I'm going to go through some of the myth busting, like that one I mentioned about, if you think you can't fast because you need to graze all the time because your blood sugar will have a problem. There's some truth in that, of course. As I said, that might be where you're starting from, but there's ways to develop your metabolic flexibility gradually and work into fasting so that you can be more healthy. But so I'll go through some myth busting about fasting, and some tips to get started. And yeah, basically, so the workshop itself will be 1 hour, and that's going to be recorded. So if people can't come live, I hope you will register for it anyway, and you'll get the recording afterwards. I'm going to do my very, very, very best to keep it to an hour. And then the second hour, my plan is to stay online with whoever does attend live, not record that, but just take open Q&A, and it can be questions, discussion around fasting, but also more broadly, metabolic health, nutrition, anything we have time for. And then with people who registered for, probably with my whole email list anyway, certainly for the people who registered for the workshops, afterwards, I'll share some, if there are some highlights that come up from the Q&A part, I'll just share that by email.
No, I just find this stuff interesting. I'm glad you're here just
Thank
to
you.
fill us in on just what we talked about. A lot of people, myself anyway, and people like me, they don't know a lot of this stuff. They suspect something's up. A lot of people suspect, they're like, hang on, we're not being told the truth about anything these days. Medical, political. It's just, there's something that's seriously up.
Yeah,
Agricultural. There's
yeah,
a real something is at play, and people are like, I don't know what it is, but something's up.
yeah, yeah. And that also reminds me of one point I would love to squeeze in before we wrap up, is just that the ultimate, it is nutrition. There are some generalities that apply to virtually everybody with nutrition, and I love sharing that stuff, but there is a lot of individuality, and so ultimately what I love when I'm working with my clients, I love helping guide people towards being able to tune into their body and listen to your body. And the challenge is that often, for most people in the beginning, you can't even necessarily trust your body, because your body's, probably craving ice cream and pizza and beer. But that's because you've already gotten off track and your body's not functioning the way it was designed. And so that as you get healthier, maybe, getting some help with guidance about what that means and how to do it, and start to listen and pay attention to your own body. And including, even when you do figure out what's working for you, you have to keep that open-mindedness and keep that attention to listening to your body, because what is best for you will change when you're a different age, different time of the month, different circumstances, what your stress level is doing, how active you're being. All of these things are going to change. So it's a practice to gradually learn to listen to your body and follow what it says, and try to reduce the confusion of all the different information coming in.
Megan, I appreciate that you actually clearly you attempt to think for yourself and not just listen to what someone has barfed into your throat from a from a whatever. I appreciate that about you, because it takes effort to think, just like it takes effort to buy locally produced produce and meat. It takes effort to grow. It takes effort to learn. I appreciate that about you.
Thank you. And that I never thought about this before, but in nutrition, variety is so good, right? You can't just pick a few foods and eat them all the time and be optimally healthy. Yeah, when you're learning and growing, when I was learning body work, as I'm learning nutrition, when I'm learning anything, I love learning from multiple sources, because each time you listen to one teacher or another, you're going to, hear great stuff and it's going to make sense. And then you listen to somebody else and they're saying the opposite. It's like, huh? And that kind of makes sense too. And so you have to take it in from different angles, and again, see what does your own body and your own instinct tell you is right for you.
I like to practice what you just said. I like to listen to conservative viewpoints and liberal viewpoints, because aside from the biases, I find they both make sound points. Aside from the noise, each one has their own, but it's like there's always two sides of the same coin. And one side only says one side of the coin, which is a truth, but the other side says the other, and then they're at odds. And that's wisdom that you just said, to get multiple teachers, because we all have preferences and filters.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to
Thanks
share
for letting
here?
me share here.
Oh, it's my joy. Please drop any links after. So the links to anything you're doing this weekend. Also, if you have a Facebook group, whatever you want, website, drop it here after. I'll tag you in the post so you can find it easily. And please drop the links in the comments.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, my website is Wellness Wisdom for Women. I think I might have told you before we started recording that I do welcome men also. The website, I mean, most of my clients are women, but again, my focus is metabolic health, and that's impacting all genders. And so Wellness Wisdom for Women, first thing people get when they get on my email list there is a self-assessment checklist for getting a sense of maybe how is your metabolic health doing. And then that's followed by lots of, tips spread out about how to improve your metabolic health. And then the fasting workshop is this Saturday. So I'll post a link, a direct link to that, but it's also at my website under the events page. And I have a Facebook group, Boost Energy and Metabolic Health. That is just for women, actually.
Well, please put all those links after. I'll
Yeah.
approve them, and so people can find you. If you've been listening, watching Power Network TV, Megan has blessed us today with just great information. And please connect with Megan. Tell her what you appreciated in the comments. Join her Facebook group. Join her event, the workshop this weekend. Sounds like it's going to be a fun one.
Thank you.
All right, Megan. Well, we'll chat soon, and I'll message you after to send you the links. So look for I'll friend you, or so I can message you those links.
Yes. Thank you very much. I look forward to that.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.